We just wanted to kind of get some perspective from you. I know that you've been discussing this a lot. We've been seeing your tweets and everything. I guess the first thing that I want to know is it's widely known that Ethiopian is one of the largest airlines in Africa and has a really good track record. It's quite a safe airline. What impact is this accident going to have on the company now?
Good afternoon. Well, first and foremost, I'll start by saying that, of course, my thoughts remain with everybody affected by this aviation tragedy. The aviation industry as a whole is a very positive place, and it's home to wonderful news stories. But sadly, there are occasions, such as yesterday, where we have to face the harsh reality of an accident, and not just an accident, but a fatal accident. So this was a major and significant crash of a Boeing 737 MAX operated by Ethiopian Airlines. We found out yesterday morning via the office for the PM, who said that he confirms that an Ethiopian Airlines plane had crashed and that there were fatalities involved. Of course, as the course of the day progressed, we learned that nobody survived this crash of a brand new Boeing 737 MAX 8. So to just give the aircraft some concept, this is a brand new Boeing short-haul jet. It's more efficient and it's very attractive to airlines given it uses less fuel and it's able to offer far better economics to airlines flying short-haul. So this jet, while new, is already in service across the globe. It's in service on the continent of Africa, for example, with Ethiopian Airlines and with Comair in South Africa, the British Airways subsidiary airline, but it's also in service across the United States, South America, in Europe, here in Europe, and in Asia. Now, following this crash, there were immediate calls that perhaps this aircraft should be grounded, given that the 737 MAX 8 has been involved now in 2 major fatal accidents in the space of just 5 months. That is somewhat unprecedented for a brand new aircraft.
Right. Alex, allow me to come in right now. Michael here. We did see a particular gentleman who was rather a concerned traveler with Ethiopian Airlines writing an email there to them saying that the 737 MAX from Boeing had a problem, and this was in January, but we never got to see whether Ethiopian Airlines did comment about that. But then we rather saw a flight taking off for about 6 minutes and crashing in the southeast of Addis Ababa. What do we know about this? Just kindly put this story together for us. What do we know so far about the crash?
Sure. So, of course, it's very natural, Michael, that the link is being made between the first crash of this 737 MAX 8, which took place in late October in Indonesia, because that crash itself occurred just minutes after departure. Now, naturally, given that yesterday's crash also happened just minutes after departure of the same aircraft type, the two are being linked. What we know from the initial investigation from the first crash is that Boeing did issue an emergency advisory to all airlines stating that there was something in terms of procedure that needed to be altered, associated to do with the departure and the takeoff roll, that could potentially lead the Boeing 737 MAX into an uncontrollable nosedive, which is how Boeing described it. So it was quite extreme phrasing, but this was an emergency advisory that they issued following the crash in October. Now, the airlines maintain very close contact with the manufacturers, so I have every faith that despite some concerns and circulated emails, as you mentioned, with Ethiopian Airlines surrounding this aircraft, my faith is in the fact that Ethiopian Airlines is an incredibly safe airline. They are internationally respected and they adhere to guidelines. And so with that, there wouldn't have been any worry, at least from my point of view, on safety.
Right. Alex, I saw your tweet earlier saying that Southwest Airlines in the U.S. is refusing to change passengers' tickets for free from the 737 MAX 8 aircraft to the 737, citing that they had 31,000 successful flights with the airplane. Do you think that passengers may now just be overreacting a little bit? Do you think that it's justified that people are asking this? And what do you think about Southwest Airlines' move to do that?
No, not at all. I sympathise with passengers. Ultimately, they are putting two and two together. And while I am keen to say that we shouldn't be conclusive, we should not just simply say that because this is the second type of accident of this aircraft in the space of 5 months, it somehow concludes that this jet is unsafe. I'm not saying that at all, but I do absolutely understand and sympathise with passengers who are saying, you know what, I don't want to fly this plane, because ultimately until they receive answers as to knowing why this aircraft has crashed again within the space of 5 months, then they're allowed, they're able to make that choice. And so the social media and Twitter has been rife with hundreds of thousands of tweets saying that passengers will be choosing not to fly the 737 MAX. I don't think that it's necessarily, the best approach to have to this, but likewise, I absolutely sympathise with why that decision is being made for a personal decision for passengers at least. With regards to Southwest, I'm not sure that strategy was the best, to be honest. To double down and insist on the safety of their aircraft is one thing, but to double down and insist on the safety of their aircraft a day after a major crash is probably not the best approach. I think it would be much easier for Southwest to say, we understand why passengers have their concerns, and if they choose not to fly the 737 MAX, we will accommodate them elsewhere, because there are no answers. And up until yesterday, Ethiopian Airlines were also flying the 737 MAX very safely with a very safe history. So not the best approach in my point of view.
Right, Alex, of course, before we let you go, definitely we understand that the pilot who, according to Ethiopian Airlines CEO, says that he had a very good track record in about 8,000 plus hours of flight, and he asked to return to Bole, Addis Ababa there, and he was given leeway to do that, but also reports say that there was smoke filling the cabin, which some are speculating that it could have been an act of terrorism. What do you think could be the case here? Just something that you think could be the case here for us.
As much as people are looking for answers, I will be very careful not to speculate, because ultimately there could have been a variety of contributors into what has happened. Of course, the link is being made to the previous crash. That's only natural given the similarities. But like you just said, given the lack of remains actually at the crash site, terrorism is also being floated. I personally won't speculate out of respect to those who need the real answers. And so I think I'll leave that one there.
Alex, around the region, we have different airlines in Uganda, Tanzania, even here in Rwanda, that are growing their fleets, they're developing their companies. What effect do you think that this incident's going to have on this industry in the region?
Unfortunately, I think this is a minor setback, of course, but actually I think it's something that airlines commercially, will recover from very quickly. And while the same, of course, cannot be said emotionally to do with those directly affected by the crash, Ethiopian Airlines are a strong airline, and Africa as a whole. Airlines are really working hard to secure their place, not just in the market in Africa, but globally. And you have